Okay.
All right. Hi, guys. I am super, super excited and honored to be able to talk to you guys about goals today. So, we're going to be talking about chapter 7 in the secret code, which is goal free zones and goal replacement surgery. Goals are actually something that are very near and dear to my heart. So, this was definitely a sensitive subject for me, talking about having goal free zones. So, I do want to touch on real quick how it's really important to establish the fact that you can't have healthy goal free zones until you have healthy goal zones in place. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference of those two because, really, in essence, this chapter, in a nutshell, is really just talking about how to be healthy. How to be healthy with your goals, how to have them and go after them, and then also how to have what some people call margins in your work life, which is goal free zones. So, I want you guys to know that setting goals are what drives me. I'm an achievement driven person. So for me, it's really not about the prizes. Honestly, you guys, when I went Emerald, I forgot I was getting a Lexus until after I had already promoted. And somebody said, "Are you excited about your Lexus?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing." I'm not really driven by prizes as much as I am by achieving the goal that I'm going after. So, but that doesn't mean that goals are easy for me. In fact, in this business, goals were very elusive to me for a really long time. I was afraid to fail and also afraid to succeed at the same time, if that's possible. And so for a long time in this business, I just worked hard without setting any goals. I just thought, you know what? I don't need goals. I don't need a plan. I'm just going to work hard, and what comes of it will be good enough. If I work hard enough, things will work out. I will eventually get to where I need to go. What I didn't realize is that that was a huge mismanagement of energy, which we will talk about later tonight and in the rest of this chapter. But I can go back to the day in January of 2016 when Jessica gave me my first goal. I was a Ruby, and she was talking to me about how soon I could hit Emerald, and helping me establish my goals for that and giving me a healthy timeline. And she said, "Abby, your team needs to add 40 people in January." And I was like, she's crazy. Our team hasn't added over 20 people in a month yet. Like, how is that going to be possible to even go for 40 people? I felt like she was out of her mind. And I asked my sidelines, and I was like, does 40 people seem possible to you guys? Like, we're already like 10 days into January at this point. Like, doesn't this seem a little crazy and far-fetched? And they were all like, yeah, she's a diamond. She forgot. Like, she doesn't know what healthy goals are. She's just used to seeing big numbers all the time. That's crazy. You shouldn't even try for that. So I had my sidelines reinforcing my low standards. And I was like, this isn't going to happen. There's no way. But as I was laying in bed that night, I thought, you know what? She wouldn't have said that if it weren't for a reason. She would not have given me that goal if she didn't think I could attain it. She would not have told me to do this if it was truly impossible. And so I set that goal in stone, and I made a plan. And you guys, our team actually ended up recruiting 60 people in January because we were going after a goal. We made a plan, and so that was the healthy execution of a good goal. So that was my first healthy experience with goal setting, and I've been goal setting ever since. So this idea of goal-free zones was actually really new to me until I dove into this book. And so it's definitely been a growing journey for me of personal development and realizing how to juggle and have balance and do both. So I loved this so much. In the first page he says, "It's ironic, really. Your negative reflection is always going to tell you that you're not good enough. It's trying to protect you. Because if we truly believe we're not good enough to accomplish a goal, then we won't try and we won't fail. And that's the truth. I see it over and over and over with people in this business. And it's regardless of rank, you guys. My senior rubies have done it. My silvers have done it. We all are afraid to set good, healthy goals because we don't want to be disappointed. So we would rather just aim low or not aim at all and just kind of work in the nooks and crannies of our day. But really what that ends up creating for us is a lot of chaos and not a lot of productivity. So we're going to talk today about the healthy zones of setting goals and also goal-free zones. It says there are really only 3 reasons why we are setting goals and not achieving them. We're either going after something we really don't want, which goes back to our why. So often we will just pick something and say, yeah, I want to be Ruby by September. That sounds good. But we don't really want that. Or maybe we don't know why we want that. September just sounded like a good month. That sounded decent. We don't know why we need something by that certain day. And we don't even really know why we want Ruby. Just because what? Because the income disclosure looks good? If your why is not so directly tied not only to your goal but to your timeline, it's not going to work. And on my team, the verbiage that we use is your why has to be something you needed last year. It needs to be something that you have needed it for so long, you're just gonna go crazy if you don't have it. It can't be a futuristic goal. Like, yeah, someday it would be great to get out of debt. Or, yeah, I mean, it would be nice if we had extra every month. That's not going to drive you. That gives you no incentive to meet your goals. And so having a goal that you actually really and truly want is an absolute must. Reason number 2 is that the goal was impossible. My definition of that is that it was poorly planned. Maybe you made your goal at the 15th of the month that you were going to recruit 3 times more people than you ever have. And you didn't goal plan with the rest of your team. You just decided to go for it yourself and say, hey team, jump on. Let's triple our numbers. And you just expected them to get behind your plan and run with you. That's not going to happen. You've got to have buy-in from the rest of your team. And that involves planning. That involves coaching calls. That involves one-on-one digging deep with your people and making sure that you give them a reason to also go after the same goals that you have so you guys can work towards those together. That's what keeps it from being impossible. And then number 3 is that we haven't given ourselves permission to establish those goal-free zones. So we're just going for it all the time. We never stop. We never take a break. We have no margins. It's just constant crazy chaos always. So, I love the mental picture that he gives where he talks about the rocket ship. And he says, anytime a rocket leaves Earth, it has to first surpass gravity and then break through the atmosphere. And that our habits are gravity. So our daily mode of operation. When we say, I can't, or I'm too busy, or I'm trying to do this by myself. We have these habits of thoughts that hold us back and also habits of activity that hold us back. Habits of scrolling our main news feed when we're supposed to be doing our IPA. Habits of checking our team's posts or seeing how many likes we've gotten on our team page instead of sending dosage charts to our newbies that need it. We have these habits that keep the gravity hot and heavy on us. So we can't actually break past that to meet new goals because we're still operating the same way all the time. The environment is the atmosphere. So that's our comfort zone. That's how much we allow ourselves to succeed. And it's the idea of if we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we always have gotten. This is something that has been personally hard for me in my journey. I'm kind of all or nothing, and so I just have one pace and I go hard and fast all the time. And so it's easy for me to be disorganized and to be unintentional and to be a survivor or a reactor to the scenarios and to my team and to what's coming at me. I just always do the next thing, instead of being intentional about my environment and deciding this is what I'm going to do today. This is my time that I'm going to go after my goals. This is the time that I'm going to rest and refuel. That's really what the definition of a goal-free zone is. It's taking time to refresh yourself. The verbiage that he uses is unplug. So, when can we do this? Basically, it's the idea. It's not Netflix. Unplugging is not Netflix and it's not Candy Crush, so don't count those things. Unplugging is actually choosing to be at rest. So that might be napping, it could be journaling, it could be working out, but it's actually giving your mind a freedom place, a resting place, a place to go that's not working and it's not performance based. It's just where you can be free. That's also where some of our best ideas come. So often in this business, anytime people tell me I'm working all the time and there's no fruit from that, they tell me their phone is always in their hand, or my husband's frustrated with me because all I do is ever work plexus. Immediately, I always ask them, are you really working, or is your phone always in your hand? Because there's a really big difference. Or people will say, I need to unplug. I'm not going to work my business this week because I needed to unplug and be with my family. But they weren't really unplugging. They were on Facebook, or they were playing Candy Crush, or they were Netflix binging, or they were saying yes to a whole bunch of other things that were not unplugging at all, that were not being restful at all. They just wanted to do something else besides plexus, and so they used unplugging as their excuse. So we have to understand that in order to unplug well, you actually also have to work well. So the idea is not to work 100% of the time or to rest 100% of the time, but to do both and do them well. So if you know that you are having a focused time of work every day, then you can be fully guilt-free about the time you're unplugging as well. And then you also have to learn to protect that unplugged time. That's something that I'm personally working on at this point in my journey. Honestly, you guys, I've worked this business during phases of my personal life that have been high stress. And so I've been a reactor to a lot of things. So I've gotten the job done, but it hasn't always been in the most clean manner. So it hasn't always been in a way of discipline. It's just been, I'll just keep going and hope it gets accomplished. And it does get done, but it leaves me really tired and really empty when it doesn't have to be that way. So I want to encourage you guys to make that decision right now before you get any further in your journey, that you can actually do both. You can have focused work time and also unplugged time, and both of them be really, really beneficial. Let's see. He gave us a really good reminder that our worth doesn't come from our achievement. And then also that when we don't reach a goal, we're not any less of a person. When we don't hit a goal, or when we don't do what it takes to reach that goal, it doesn't affect our worth as people. It's all it is we're having to be honest with ourselves that we decided to settle, or that it didn't work. It has nothing to do with who we are as a person. I feel like there are really two extremes that people fall into when it comes to goal setting. Either we tend to play the victim or we play the slave. As the victims of our goals, we don't set them. We really don't. We might set them carefully, like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. And if I don't hit it this month, I'll hit it the next month, and I'll just know that I tried my best and that it was all there, and it's really not a big deal if I don't do it because at least I tried, and it just must not have been meant to work out for me. That's being the victim. That's not ever really taking a stand for anything or being in control of the gravity or your own atmosphere. You're just saying, I'll put some effort out there and see what happens. I'm not going to fully commit and say that I will do whatever it takes. I'm just going to say that I'll try, and I hope that that's enough. That's playing the victim. And you guys, nobody who ever operates that way goes far in this business, and it takes them forever to get anywhere. Those are the people that you will see barely climbing and then sliding backwards. There are also going to be a lot of negative people who feel really frustrated with the company, who feel really frustrated with their teams, who are complaining a lot, who are looking for other people and other sidelines that can relate to them and say, yeah, it's really hard for me too. Yeah, we don't know where points are. All of those things are signs of somebody who is a victim to goal setting. So they are, instead of taking control of their goals and being proactive, they are a victim of the circumstances, the atmosphere, and the gravity around them. Then the second option is playing the slave, which I have been super guilty of in my journey. Whenever you don't hit a goal, it's devastating. It's so devastating that it actually makes you want to cop out. If you hit the 31st and you have literally busted your bum, pulled out every stop, offered every incentive, had been in the grime, gritting your teeth, trying to help all your people meet their goals, and it still wasn't enough, you still missed your goal, then when the first of the next month comes around, you're just not feeling it. You're like, you know what? I did lay it all out there. I left it all on the field and it wasn't enough. So maybe this month I just won't try as hard because it's obvious that I wasn't enough. That is being a slave to the goal itself. And so instead of picking yourself up and saying, what can I do differently? How can I adjust? Where do I need to put my energy in this month in ways that are more productive? How can I change the status quo? What needs to be different? Where can I be more coachable? Instead of picking yourself up and jumping back in, you're just bitter. You're bitter that it didn't work and that the thing that fuels you and moves you forward didn't happen. And so you use that as a reason to either not try as hard or to try as hard, but to do it with a really bad attitude, which isn't good either. So that's really kind of the two unhealthy extremes of the spectrum. Healthy ways to make sure that we are staying in line. Really, what I took away most from this chapter is that there is no healthy way to go after your goals without having goal-free zones. You have to have both. You can't have healthy drive and healthy focus without also having the healthy margin of unplugging. So one of the exercises is to list ways that we can unplug, things that make you come alive. I don't know what that is for you guys, whether that is getting outside, whether it's exercising. Again, scrolling Instagram and Netflix don't count. Those are not areas that breathe life into you and refresh you and refuel you as a person. Maybe it's baking. Maybe it's just taking time to be with your babies. But do whatever you have to do to make those things happen. On page 50, I'm just going to read this here live right now. The bottom line is, if you want to be rich and successful, you cannot be normal. The people who make millions every year are not normal, because by definition, normal equals not very successful. Is the majority of the population happy and rich? Nope. Therefore, if you want to be happy and rich, you must do things that normal people don't do. So that is the idea behind having focused sections of your day. You might be like, Abby, that's super weird. Who stops what they're doing in the middle of their day and goes and takes a walk? That sounds super fruity and weird. And what are people going to ask me what I'm doing of 10 minutes of just soaking in the sunshine or getting on a yoga mat or whatever you need to do? It's not normal, you guys. It's not what the majority of the population does every day. But the majority of the population is miserable. The majority of the population are reactive to their life 100% of the time. They're survivors and they're permanently in a survival mentality. They are not taking ownership and they're not stewarding well their on time or their off time. They're just always in the middle ground, that middle ground that's a sea of chaos where they feel always exhausted, like they're always trying to perform and go to the next thing, but they're not doing any of the things well. And they're not ever really resting either. They just kind of live in that middle ground of not accomplishing much, but always putting out a lot of energy. So that's what we want to avoid. He talks about finding ways to create or gain support for those goal-free zones. And for guys, a lot of us, that looks like being honest and asking for help. Going to your spouse and saying, listen, I need this much time when you get off work. I need 15 minutes I need 20 minutes for you to take the kids where I can drink a cup of tea in silence in our bedroom without kids banging down the door. I need to be able to go outside. I need to be able to go drive and go get a lemon water from Sonic and just rest, not play the radio, just turn off, relax, be me for 20 minutes before you go back into mom mode and wife mode and entrepreneur mode again for the rest of the day and night. being willing to ask for help to make those times happen is crucial. Maybe it looks like getting childcare if you're a stay-at-home mom, or getting help with your house. For so many of us, it's so crazy hard and unnatural. And we have all this pride attached to thinking that we should do it all, when in reality, we're not doing it all anyway. Something is always falling. We're always dropping the ball, whether if we're trying to do everything alone, you're not just going to drop one ball, it's going to be multiple things that get dropped. So don't feel guilty for having to hire a house cleaner or establish a HelloFresh where meals are delivered to you twice a week if that's what you need. Because really, that's you being more intentional than the rest of us who are just constantly trying to survive and are making a really big mess of it. So be intentional about that and be okay with it. My favorite truth bomb from this chapter was rich and happy people are not any smarter, they're not any hardworking, and they're not any more charming than you are. The difference, they have become experts at managing their sources of energy. Managing our energy simply means spending it wisely, aka we're focused. So when we're working, we're working. That means we're not scrolling our news feed. We're not just liking a bunch of random posts or checking people's comments on our posts. It means we are in there. We are cold messaging. We are following up. We are in those three-way chats. We are going down our list and making sure everyone has their dosage taken care of and that their PCOs are on in the back office. It's not dead time. It's not sitting there with our phone in our hand for 4 hours and saying that we've gotten stuff in our business done when in reality, nobody was added to our team that day. It's having really what we call power hours. In this chapter, it said studies show that humans produce the most in 90 to 120 minute sessions. And then the healthy break time is like a 15-minute period. So honestly, Noah, who wrote this book, said that he would write for 90 minutes at a time and then nap for 15 minutes and then go back to it. Napping was his unplugging and his refreshing. I thought this was amazing because it totally reinforces the ideas of power hours, which what we've talked about on this team before is a 60 to 90 minute period where you just hit it hard. No more phone in your hand all day, but a concentrated time period, not doing coaching calls, not making videos, just working your personal business and making sure everybody's taken care of and nobody's falling through the cracks. If you do that, you are going to feel the freedom to then turn off your phone and give your babies your full attention when they wake up from nap, and know that you don't have to constantly be checking. You don't have to wonder if someone responded, because you're going to get to them at night when you do your second power hour after your kids are in bed. You don't have to constantly be worrying that you're behind, because you're not. So it gives you the freedom to turn off fully when we are also switched on fully. That was a huge, huge revelation for me in my personal business. And then last, if you feel like it's time to understand why you're even going after the things that you're chasing, it might be time for goal replacement surgery. This is big, you guys. This is something that is, again, regardless of rank. It doesn't matter if you have been in this business for a month or 3 years. It might be time to have goal replacement surgery. I have had to do this. After I went Emerald, I had achieved my why. And so my first why, which was to be able to have financial freedom for my family, to be able to live in a place where we had always dreamed of living. And so then once that happened, my why had to shift. And I had to have a goal replacement surgery because I had to have a new goal in order to keep driving for Sapphire and for Diamond. So here are the reasons, three reasons that qualify you for goal replacement surgery. If the goals are impossible, like I have to sign everyone I ever talk to and everybody has to tell me yes, or if your goals are not even yours, if they're someone else's, or if you have goals that you don't really want or need, aka they are not time sensitive. Again, this goes back to the criteria of when you're establishing your why, it has to be something you needed yesterday. It has to be something you needed last year. Otherwise, it's not going to be strong enough to keep your head in the game. So tonight, I want you guys to just take some time, be super honest with yourselves, ask your accountability partner, ask your spouse, ask your shareholders in your household, do you have a legitimate goal? Are your goals yours? Are they just something that your sponsor gave you that they told you is realistic and something you should go after? Or is it something that you want? Are your goals too small? Did your sponsor tell you to go after gold when in reality you want to be home with your babies by Christmas and you need to be going after senior Ruby? Are they ridiculous? Are they, hey, I want to sign 30 people this month, when in reality you need to sign 6 and then you need to work on getting 3 people on your team silver? Just being realistic about those goals, what you actually want to happen and what your family needs from this business. Because at the end of the day, no matter how yellow you are, how selfless you are, your why does have to be for you. It has to be for your family, for your own. That is the thing that is going to wake you up in the morning and the thing that keeps you awake at night to burn the midnight oil to get these things done that need to be done. It's also the thing that gives you the freedom to take that time to unplug when you know that you have to be healthy to get that work done at your best and at your strongest, because your why matters, because you have to get it. It has to happen. I love that he said so much, there is no such thing as not having time. The only thing that exists is that it is not your priority. When something is a priority, you will find a way to make it happen. Even if that means it's getting done at 2 in the morning, it's gonna happen because it has to. So make sure you're being honest. Anytime you ever say, I don't have time, or I didn't have time, or I knew I wouldn't have time, start saying, it's not important to me. It's not a priority right now. I knew it wasn't going to be my priority. And really be honest with yourself about what you want this to be, what you need this to be, and then you can communicate that to your sponsor and really formulate a plan that you know you will achieve and that you know you will execute based on what you need this to look like. Honestly, you guys, and this is my paraphrasing for the recap of this chapter, successful people are not unicorns. They have simply decided to be the boss of their own rhythm, of working in an intense and focused manner when they work, and of turning off for real when it's time to recharge. So that is something that I have absolutely not learned the secret of. I'm currently working on it and I'm being very intentional to master that. I know that that is what is keeping me from reaching the next level of my success, and I know that's what has caused me to put my foot on the brake in the past. So that's something that I am being super vulnerable and honest with all of you guys about. And it's something that I want you guys to learn right now at this point in your journey before you go forward any further. But also be encouraged that the people that you guys saw at convention under those lights who were the top 10 people in this company, they're not any more different than you. They have simply learned and decided to be disciplined enough to choose where they're going to put their energy and when they're going to rest and refuel and how to do that well. So you guys, talk with your shareholders tonight, be honest, write down lists of ways that you can recharge, and also obviously set aside time to be working well and focused and intensely so that when you turn off, it makes sense. Love you guys.